say สวัสดีครับเนี่ยสวัสดีครับสวัสดีครับสวัสดีครับสวัสดีครับno together only you and me in my room
Visit ko!
Tayo,
Delicate.
So ano gagawin mo, Vert, Sindra?
Last week naman ako sa first place kaya okay lang eh. Power.
Party!
Stick!
Amazing! Galing po ako sa bundok, ngayon ko lang po nakita to.
Ito yata tayo sa Resident Evil.
Kasi the thing is, his IGN JLC, it's the nickname of an actor in the Philippines. Really? Yeah, so that's why they said it's the real JLC. Ingat! Yung skills nyo, believe in yourself, believe in your teammates, and we will win the game. 1, 2, 3. TME! Kaya.
Robot nilagyan ng ano sa utak, yung injectionan, pag yung pupunta sa jungle kung saan nagre-respawn yung camp niya, cheater.
Itong red side, buong red side nyo, halos lahat ng words nila ibubuhos na doon.
Ganun talaga eh, di ba? Pag nauna pumasok, babasagin din muna talaga eh.
Importante, kailangan kayo lagi unang gumalaw eh.
Trade pressure, parate.
Kaya kung strong lane ako, magagawa natin siguro yun. Baka magkamil na rin ulit ako.
Okay. Nice plan.
Good afternoon, or as us Filipinos like to say, magandang hapon Southeast Asia as we head into the second day of the knockout stage for the Garena Premier League 2017 summer season. Of course, before anything else, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Of course, Arctic at Yo Service Fam, and of course with me is Omi. And my oh my, glad that you could join us today, by the way, because we have a lot of interesting games, as particularly for this first game, it is gonna be Team Manila Eagles versus Young Generation for the losers bracket. While later during the day for our second matchup, it is going to be Ascension Gaming versus Gigabyte Marines for the winners bracket, wherein we'll be determining who will be getting that first seed into Worlds.
Now, if we think about TME, if ever they win against Young Generation in this set of games, best of 5, in the Philippines, we don't really play a lot of best of 5s, and I think that's the real problem here, that our players don't have a lot of durability when it comes to this 5-game setups. And as of now, I think TME has a slight disadvantage against YG, thinking that YG was the first seed in their regular games.
That's true, actually. And regardless, I think it's very definitive right now that Vietnam in general as a country has proven themselves probably one of the top contenders right now, if not the best country right now amongst the Southeast Asian countries within the GPL. So I think it's definitely a message to all the rest of the countries that there's definitely a lot of stepping up to do. If ever, especially going into the next season, we want to prove ourselves just as strong, or if not, potentially reach a point where we could potentially be even stronger, but that's definitely a long way to go. But nonetheless, we'll just have to see if Team Manila Eagles, within the short span that they've had, if they could make the necessary adjustments to take down Young Generation once again, because during the group stage, they did go 0-2 against them. So that's definitely somewhat very telling as to what we might expect during this best of 5, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, we just have to see. But in terms of stepping up, I think Team Manila Eagles really stepped up in our local scene here in the Philippines, going undefeated in the Pro Gaming Series. And to think that there is a team that went undefeated in the Pro Gaming Series, it's first in history, right?
Indeed.
So TME right now, I think they still have that confidence within them, and we'll just see in this five game matchup.
So there we go. Throwing out the bans right off the bat. It looks like the Renekton and the Rek'Sai gonna be first bans taken away from both Ren and Venus respectively, while the Gragas and the Zac, very heavy bans here on Coop. So we have established already that Team Manila Eagles does have a weakness in the form of when Coops isn't able to exert the maximum pressure that he can to really help his lane shine. So no surprise right there that both Zac and Gragas are two of those champions that he does excel at to get that type of job done. But looks like the Corki will be the next ban here for Trevor. So another champion that he's excelled on with a great showing during the group stage.
Yeah, and looking at the bans of TME, they banned that Renekton. Remembering the game yesterday, the game where JLC played Camille against a Renekton and got camped by a Zac. It was really frustrating for JLC having to endure all of those tower dives while their bot lane and mid lane wasn't really winning against GAM. And I mean, it's Optimus. We have to respect. He's the baby faker of Southeast Asia.
There you
but
go.
Looking at this game right now, we can see that TME picked Kalista right now. Kalista is a strong AD carry as of now in this meta.
Agreed. And not only that, but this is a champion that we have seen Marky excel at, even in his earlier days in the amateur scene. So it's great to see that with the comeback of Kalista, we are seeing a little bit more of him on this champion again. But again, this is make or break, so all the stops has to be pulled out right now. But nonetheless, in response, Young Generation did pull out the Tristana in response to that, along with the Jarvan, which has been one of the stronger picks, if anything, if I'm not mistaken. One of those champions which has a high win percentage in the GPL as of this season.
Yeah, and Tristana as an AD carry just has this huge snowball potential if ever he gets that early Infinity Edge or early attack speed items. It really pumps up the siege potential for YG. And with that Jarvan flag and Cataclysm, I mean, Jarvan flag gives a little bit of attack speed bonus, but that little bit of attack speed bonus might mean more turrets for YG.
Indeed. And we'll just have to see again. That's something that Team Manila Eagles has to deal with. But looking at their picks right now, they will be drafting the Sejuani potentially for Coops, unless they might flex it to top, but I highly doubt it. And then the Syndra as well for Trevor. So in response, Naul actually going to go for his one of his signature picks that he was known for in the Vietnamese league, which is the LeBlanc.
Yeah, and Trevor picking a burst mage like Syndra is a response to that Tristana actually, because Tristana is a little mobile if you think about the rocket jump in her resets. But if ever Trevor gets the chance to burst her down before he even deals a damage, that will be a bit assured teamfight win for TME.
Looking at the ban, so for the second rotation, Alistar gonna be taken away from Rocks here. So a lot of complementary champions that would help Marky transitioning from the laning phase and even into the bigger clashes because of that ultimate maybe taken away by Young Generation. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe another support champion that complements Kalista, maybe like a Thresh. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, and a Janna ban. Janna as of now is one of the strongest supports in the current meta. And having that Ardent Sensor on her and that AoE heal and reset, Janna is just one of the champions you don't want to play against. If you're not going to play her, just ban her out, because paired with a hyper carry like Kalista or Tristana, Janna will deal a lot of not damage, but make a lot of supportive plays and saves for those hyper carries, and a lot of sieges as well, because that shield adds a lot of damage to the carries.
Indeed, and as predicted, the Thresh is going to be taken away from Rock, so it's interesting as to what they'll be going for here. Maokai as well going to be taken away from the board for Young Generation. Braum, again, another one of those champions that could have potentially been paired with Kalista, is off the board, so it's interesting as to what Team Manila Eagles will be pulling up their sleeves in order to complement this Kalista here, because a lot of those... Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
so the Rakan going to be taken. Indeed.
And looking at Braum is a response, I think, towards Syndra. Because if Syndra throws her ultimate to Tristana, Big Koro can just slam in the shield and get all those orbs towards him. And if ever he does that play and succeeds in protecting his Tristana, oh my god, it might be a Yasuo pick for Pallet.
Is that gonna be a lock-in though? Okay, they're just kind of baiting us right now.
And Shen, again, is a strong top laner as of now. We can see JLC is focusing on tanks again. I'm a little bit disappointed because I love seeing JLC playing carry champions. In the local scene, these carry champions are really good, but I guess he's adjusting into the international kind of play and is locking in that Shen.
And we'll just have to see again, this is one of those champions that JLC is proficient at. But like you did mention, the reason that they are here in the Garena Premier League in the first place was because of these carry champions that got them the reverse sweep during their finals here in the Philippines. So to see JLC just sticking to the adjustments necessary to the meta, it could kind of go both ways. Sure, it does show some level of adaptability as to adjusting to what is needed once you're on the international stage. But then again, could it potentially tone down their actual prowess to take games into a win? Now that's the big question here.
Yeah, big question indeed. And now we look at the composition of the whole squad. We can see the Rakan and Kalista. Great initiate, great protection in the form of the E, or was it? Yeah, it's the Rakan's E. 2 dashes towards Kalista. And Rakan right now, since it's Ardent Sensor meta, Rakans can also buy Ardent Sensor with shields. And also, he has a team heal if ever they're all clumped together, but I wouldn't clump together if there's... I mean, we could clump together. There's a Shen. But, you know, the Zac... Did they have the Zac? No, they banned the Zac,
it's banned
actually.
Banned out by Young Generation. So, at the end of the day, we'll just have to see. One of the key problems that Team Manila Eagles had yesterday, which is why they ultimately faltered to Gigabyte Marines, was that instances wherein Copes was consistently in a drought throughout all 3 games. And he couldn't really do much in the earlier phases. You know, that key ingredient which makes Team Manila Eagles such a strong team, losing out on that early game phase wherein Coops could actually make plays to complement those lanes. And again, we'll just have to see if that's something that they could correct within the short amount of time that they have. Young Generation, though, at the same time, they appeared very, very strong in the group stage, but did show some sign of weaknesses during the game against Ascension Gaming, wherein they'd kind of go for these tunnels. They'd kind of tunnel vision on a certain champion that they'd lose out on the bigger picture during some of these clashes. But nonetheless, we'll just have to see how adjustments work for both sides as we head on to the Rift for Game 1 between Team Manila Eagles versus Young Generation. Again, PH Pride versus Vietnam Pride. Let's see who will ultimately win it all.
Yeah, YG looking to have that defensive start and warding the red side, knowing that the whole TME squad is at the blue side of the enemy jungle, of TME's jungle rather. So now that we can see that, actually we can see the the jungle starts as of now, and Jarvan just looking to scout that with a flag.
Good vision there coming in from Young Generation towards the bot side of Team Manila Eagles, so that is going to be great information, not only for Venus himself, but even for the lanes as far as their safety to determine whether or not Coops may potentially be transitioning for a gank, or we'll just have to see.
It's a great start by YG though. Look at they placed 2 wards towards TME's side, knowing where Coops will enter the jungle towards the blue or might go for the level 2 gank. YG with a great start here, ensuring the laner's safeties.
Ah yes, true indeed. And looking at this though, so far nonetheless interesting though. Flame Spitter gonna be something that JLC might have to deal with, but looks like Ren will instead be using it to get some damage on that minion wave here. A little bit of a trade here happening. Big Koro getting the knockup, but that will be a little bit, not even a little bit, that's actually half of Marky's health bar down already within the first few minutes of the game. Trevor, Naul as well, in a little bit of a trade on their own. Thunderlord's proccing, getting a little bit more damage there onto Naul.
Great trade there by TME at the mid lane because Trevor actually landed a lot of his Qs, and having a LeBlanc matchup against Syndra, it really takes skill to land those skill shots against a LeBlanc that has a dash available by level 1 or by level 2. And with Trevor's skills to hit those Qs, he wins that early trade. But then again, you have that Dark Seal. Did he start Dark Seal? No, he started Corrupting Potion, which actually amplifies his ability to trade.
Ooh, looks like Venus though. Will he be forcing something onto Koops? That might actually indeed be the case. That's both junglers do spot each other out. Venus gonna be denying Koops a bit in this case, taking one of those wolves, but will be diving in though. Trevor as well will be there for the backup, actually gets the stun. Will this be first blood? And yes, indeed, the damage is real. Trevor ultimately getting the kill.
I mean, I think it is a bad rotation for Venus because Venus is level 2 and he still continued that invade knowing that Sejuani was level 3.
And that's the tricky part right there. I think Venus kind of learned a bit from the game with Levi in the previous games, so it just wasn't executed as cleanly because, like you did mention, there was a level deficit which resulted to his death, unlike Levi wherein he just tried to farm camps that Koops wasn't within the area to take, so that there was a little bit more safety in that denial. But yeah, that was very risky from Venus right there.
Yeah, that was indeed very risky, giving out the first blood. And to top it off, it was given to Trevor. Trevor now has double buffs within him. And looking at the lane matchup right now, LeBlanc, who typically has an edge before level 6, now has 0 edge against a Syndra with a double buff because that auto attack will burn her life down.
Not to mention, just gonna throw those dark spears all day across this lane until such time that blue buff does expire, but very, very fresh take there. So we'll just have to see how Naul will be adjusting to that. So Venus, in exchange, might have to take it a little bit more easier. Clearly not able to execute that drought on the Koops as cleanly. That is gonna be a knockup though. Big Koro gonna retaliate with a basic attack, 1-1-2, gets the stun. Koops will be in the vicinity though for a gank.
Might be trouble for YG here. Spotted by a ward though, and they back off. And looking at the mid lane matchup where Trevor should be winning but is dropped down to half health. That's the problem with LeBlanc. Before level 6, she has a lot of dashes, and that passive just really pops down your health if ever you don't hit her with a stun. But then again, that red buff slow will help him a lot in landing those Qs and a possible stun and an additional slow from her SW.
Looks like JLC hurting quite a bit here towards topside. Will be forced to back away though. Could easily teleport back lane. This is the beauty of the Shen right here. Even though you might need to use that teleport and ultimately lose out on it for that pressure, you do make up for it by the fact that once you do hit level 6, you kind of have that pseudo teleport in the form of the Stand United. So especially with JLC leaning towards the level 6 mark, you know, not really much of a loss for him overall.
Yeah, and looking at LeBlanc again, once LeBlanc hits level 6 and won't be able to kill Syndra, he might go top lane or bot lane, and most likely he will go bottom lane. And with that Stand United up, it will be a 3v3 on the bot lane surely. So we just have to wait until there's level 6 and see whatever rotation Naul will go to.
Indeed, but looks like Trevor forced to back away, not even level 6 yet, where Naul, within that full onslaught of damage, was already at level 6. So that does set Trevor back a bit, but so long as he doesn't become a casualty himself in the process of trading with Naul, then I'd say he should be pretty fine.
Yeah, props to JLC in the top lane though, because even if Rumble is an aggressive champion to lane against with, he's up by 7 CS as of now. Ooh. And I just think that shows JLC's resilience in every game. He's been consistent, unless of course camped. And now we can see that the other lanes are just
pretty much
pretty
much even thus far. So we'll just have to see again. Young generation taking the pace a little bit more on the slower side, I'd say. But then again, somewhat understandable because they did concur that awkward first blood. Good, looks like it is going to be a steal though, as Trevor takes away the blue. So this is interesting because I'm seeing a lot of maneuvers coming in from Team Manila Eagles that wasn't necessarily present during the previous day here. JLC getting a trade-off with Ren here though. The Frontal Flame Twitter Equalizer actually manages to miss out. JLC, though, gonna try to go in on him, though. Will he be able to do so? Looks like we'll be trying to juggle it out of it. Ren will be backing away as well.
Yeah, and looking at the top lane matchup, once Rumble hits level 6, it is a win against Shen, since Shen's ultimate doesn't necessarily benefit him, it benefits the whole team. But bot lane looks like a fight really up.
Out a little bit of Ren there, but not really as big damage. But anyway, that is a good trade nonetheless. Ren is within the vicinity if ever they want to try something onto Trevor here in this mid lane, but looks like that won't be the case.
Yeah, it's kind of lousy rotation.
Oh, knock-up though, coming in onto Big Koro. Pallet in exchange will be getting the knock-up as well. Marky might have to be careful here. Here comes the Stand United though. Actually dashes away though, but with the safety of JLC does prevent any further pursuit from the bot lane of Young Generation.
Great rotation by Coops in the top lane, knowing that JLC has to go to the bottom lane to ensure Marky's safety. Now we can see that Ren won't be able to push that top lane, and as we know that the top lane first blood, if the solo gold goes to a single champion, it's 650 gold. A lot of gold to put in one champion.
Agreed. Looks like Coops faring fairly well, you know, preventing any form of potential dives that could have happened coming from both Ren and Venus. So Young Generation going to be restraining themselves for now. But yeah, I agree with you. That was actually a good rotation coming in from Coops after seeing the Stand United being used by JLC, because overall, I'm seeing a lot more, I guess the right term that I'm looking for is... oh man, what am I looking for here? It's just much more cleaner overall in comparison to yesterday, wherein for every action that TME does, there's a certain precaution that's being taken to avoid Young Generation from trading anything from them for every action that they do make. So unlike yesterday, wherein Team Manila Eagles would try to force something against the Gigabyte Marines, but when they try to force something,
they'll end up compromised.
Yeah, I mean, not only are they compromising a certain lane or a certain objective, but sometimes the proactivity that they initiate themselves ultimately fails for them. So it's nice to see that this is a change of pace. If anything, a good adjustment coming in from Team Manila Eagles. Whether or not this actually translates to them potentially getting off a kill onto Young Generation, we'll just have to see transitioning into the mid and late game, because that's where things get really, really shaky for Team Manila Eagles.
Yeah, and we can see the build path towards Kalista. It looks like she'll either go to the Runans or the early Blade of the Ruined King. And for Tristana, that BF Sword and Berserker Greaves, damage-wise, Tristana as of now will deal a lot more damage than a Kalista that has to put a lot of stacks before dealing a lot of damage towards the enemy team.
Indeed, I do see the teleport being popped by Naul right there. A little bit of a trade-off happening between JLC and Ren. You know, just the typical top lane duo that we're seeing here. Whether or not we'll be seeing actual deaths, not quite yet.
Just trade-offs and after trade-off. And the top lane, I think it's always just about that little things that you have to do in order to win, such as using your ultimate at the right time, or defending at the right time, controlling your wave. And I think that's why top laners should really have a lot of not just micro, but actually macro skill.
Trevor trying to trade off with Naul. Does end up with lower health in the process though. Gets the knock-up onto the bot lane of Young Generation though. Pallet might be in trouble. Gets the knock-up onto Coops, and Marky teleport actually going to be propped by Ren. So is JLC, but the rest of the squad of Young Generation is actually faster in the response game. Ren gets the kill onto Coops. JLC actually going in, gets the kill onto Pallet, but he might be a sacrifice himself. Trevor as well going to go for the response, but Naul is following back in the fray. Trevor getting the kill, but no, it's actually Marky that gets it. Trevor might be in trouble here. Naul, Venus, and Ren are on his case. Triple kill for Ren. Marky and Trevor might have to be careful here. That is going to be the shutdown, though, onto Ren, as that ultimately ends in the 3-for-3 even.
Looking at that fight, supposedly, I think YG should have won that fight if not for Tristana jumping into Marky. The moment Tristana jumped into Marky and saw the Rakan channeling his W, you see the replay, where Rakan hits that charm combo with the W, but Pallet in response just gives that great stun. And now the teleport, you can see that the teleport here, Ren comes in earlier, and that small space over there just dealt a lot of damage with the equalizer. And this is where Tristana makes a mistake. He jumps in towards Marky, and flashes out of the W of Rocks, but fails to do so. But then again, Trevor is in a bad spot as well, so ultimately doesn't die though, but a triple kill for Rumble, and Marky, great heal by Marky there, that saves his life.
Indeed, that was actually... Now that I realize, it was the Ren that actually got... no pun intended here. It was the Ren that got Ren. I just swear I didn't mean that. It's just something that I realized, but nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, overall, though, JLC actually going to get the chase on here from both Venus and Ren. Forced to flash away. Looks like we'll be escaping into safety nonetheless.
But looking at the gold distribution for YG, having that 3 kills towards Rumble is not so bad. Even if Tristana is your main carry and is standing at 0-1-3 right now, a 3-1 Rumble will deal a lot of AoE damage with that Equalizer and Flame Spitter. But we can see for the side of TME though, we have 2 kills under Marky and a kill and an assist towards Trevor. So the gold distribution for TME is a little bit better than YG. Let's just see if they put it into good use in this game.
Indeed, and I think one of the things that Team Manila Eagles really has to look out for, you know, we have seen in that previous clash as to how potent that Equalizer can be when fighting in close quarters. Trevor is like going to be running it out, though actually gets knocked up. Will he be able to survive, though? Gets the ultimate, but like you mentioned, the Braum counter for Trevor to avoiding any further damage, though. JLC might be a casualty himself, though. Goes down, Venus gets the kill.
That Venus having that fast reaction towards the mid lane. But, I mean, great response for TME though. They already destroyed the bottom lane turret, getting that first blood. Now a 1k gold lead for TME and a rotation towards mid lane, knowing that Naul and the others will try to push that lane. But Ren looks like in response will get the top lane, since that Shen ultimate removes him from his lane, and the lane pressure coming from Shen, if ever his teleport is down and his stand united is down, it's just 0 lane pressure for TME.
Indeed. That is going to be something that Team Manila Eagles has to take into consideration of until such time JLC could exert global pressure. But look at the damage though coming in here from Koops, going in on it at Ren. Ren currently overheated. Koops continuing the chase though. Will he be able to get the kill? Marky looks like we'll be going for the response as well and gets the kill. Killing spree for this Kalista.
3-0 on Kalista, and now that was a shutdown kill actually. More gold coming into Kalista, but the turret advantage will go to YG. And thinking about the gold distribution again towards TME, now that Kalista is 3-0, it will mean a faster Runa's Hurricane for Kalista. And that's AoE damage that will match that 3-2-1 Rumble.
Yikes. Trevor managing to get out of there with a slither of health. That would have been dangerous, as Venus and Pilot already making their way towards mid at the time. Like one dive in from Jarvan could have been the death of Trevor, but good timing, was able to get a recalls to safety. This turret though, almost near its fall, so we'll just have to see how Team Manila Eagles will respond, because sure, they did get bot turret, but looks like they'll ultimately be losing out on all 3 outer turrets as this game goes along within the next few minutes.
Yeah, true. And if ever they did continue with that dive, we can see that Jarvan was in the red side of the jungle together with Pallet. So if ever they did continue that dive, it would have been a terrible dive for YG, since they couldn't see that Kalista was at the blue side coming to the mid lane and Trevor was already going towards the mid lane. But good thing YG having that good macro ability, knowing that it is too dangerous to continue that dive, cancels the dive, recalls and resets, then calls for Herald instead.
Indeed. So there we go. Looks like Trevor gonna try to defend this though. That is gonna be quite the heavy push right there. Naul actually already nearing the completion of his Hextech Gunblade, so that is gonna grant him a pretty good heal along with this wave here.
And also a lot of single target damage.
Indeed.
Kalista can't kite if you if you chain her up 2 times and hit him with a Gunblade.
It's gonna be a bit of a yautza right there.
And TME not looking to give away their last outer turret, knowing that it will mean a lot of lost map pressure for them.
Yeah, Team Manila Eagles. This is the true test right here once we transition into this mid-game, whether or not Team Manila Eagles could keep up. Especially in a scenario where they're actually going to start losing pressure if they don't manage to train turrets themselves. When pushing towards the spot side here, JLC will be going for the response.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier. The sieging potential of YG with that Tristana and Jarvan is really forced to be reckoned with, because that Tristana with that bomb that can blow up turrets, it's like having a Ziggs as an AD carry. And I mean, it just takes 5 hits and boom, your turret's life is about like 10% down after that bomb.
That's a lot of pressure the team has to deal with. And ultimately, they just really want to try to take down these key targets in order to trade off objectives. But Pallet and Venus gonna get some defensive vision on. Rox will be going for the response as well. Gets the Glacial Prison onto Pallet here. Pallet looks like will be flashing away for the escape. And that is gonna be the trade down.
That engage. Oh no, another great equalizer by Ren.
Equalizer, that's a lot of damage onto Rox, though now ultimately getting the kill. Team Manila Eagles forced to flee away from this as their support does suffer as a casualty.
Yeah, Rox got deleted in that fight. That gunblade is already completed. We could see that LeBlanc just dived in through a few of her skills, then gunblade, Rox gone. And now that we can see that LeBlanc completed her gunblade, while on Trevor's side of Moral Nomicon, their single target damage actually matches each other right now. Great item build there by Naul.
Again, Team Manila Eagles, they're kind of slowing down the pace, wherein they had a pretty good early build-up earlier. So ultimately, it makes me wonder as to whether or not towards the mid-game, because from what we've been seeing here, Young Generation, they've been establishing pretty good offensive vision, and then also they have a little bit more confidence while roaming towards this map, where Team Manila Eagles, they don't really transition beyond the riverside. This could owe to the fact that sure, they may have also lost all their outer turrets in the process, which does kind of limit them. But while they're not able to respond in any way, Young Generation is going to exert dominance across this map here, and if anything, this actually allows them all the more pick-off potential as what they did with Rox earlier.
Speaking of dominating the other team, we can see that YG has a lot more damage in their composition. Looking at that Jarvan that has a Tiamat on his inventory, and having a Jarvan with a Tiamat, if he ever gets in 3 people or 2 people inside his Cataclysm, that's a lot of AoE damage and armor penetration coming from his Q. We can see a teleport coming from YG, and Ren actually landing a little bit of damage towards Trevor.
Yes, looks like both JLC and Trevor will survive, though Trevor will be forced to back away as a third of his health was chunked down, along with quite a bit of mana that he has to regenerate for now. Rox, though, has to be careful here. He's still quite on the soft side. Only has Ardent Sensor up, rather along with the Boots of Mobility. So that's still a long way to go before he could actually start tanking a bit of that damage.
Yeah, we can see TME in having a little bit of trouble in adjusting on the lane pressure given by YG, because as of now we can see all waves pushing against TME. Naul soloing that top lane, and Tristana having that great wave clear from his E is pushing mid lane by himself actually, and Ren on the bottom lane as well. And now TME is just, I think it's not shell-shocked, but TME is just struggling as of now to defend their base. And looking at the kill score, it shouldn't be like that. But then again, we're facing a Vietnamese team with a lot of macro. But in a micro sense though, I think TME is not lacking in their mechanical ability, because Philippines is all about that galawan. And galawan in English is like, it's a slang for mechanics. And Filipinos are known for their mechanics, and sadly our macro isn't just as good as the other countries, and it kind of shows why we falter in international scenes, because macro game is a lot more better in other regions.
Actually, I agree with you right there. And looking at the compositions, if you're gonna look at TME, there's a lot of macro in a way involved in order to pull this off, especially when you have more tankier champions such as the Shen, such as the Sejuani, wherein, again, for Young Generation, there's a lot of damage across the board, wherein, in a way, just the smallest micro duels could actually spell something for them into leads, transitioning into the macro. So basically, it's like micro that could eventually be turned into macro after you pick off members from Team Manila Eagles. Where Team Manila Eagles, they really need to kind of do something as far as macro and control here.
Yeah, and speaking of macro and control, we can see the Rift Herald popping out at the bottom lane turret, and it will be the second turret for bottom lane. A lot of damage coming from Herald, a full HP Herald slamming in half HP. But then again, Trevor just deals a lot of damage being a Syndra. And as of now, the kill score is just really good if we think about it. And a fight is yet to break out wherein Marquis will shine. But then again, the LeBlanc already has that Gunblade, and Marquis has only, I think, a dash as his form of defense. And we can't start a fight, actually. Let's be honest. We can't start a fight against the current YG squad as of now. But maybe in the later part of the game where Marquis gets to build a defensive item to not die against that LeBlanc, or at least Rox building a defensive item to protect his AD carry, I guess we can pick up a fight against YG. But at that time, Tristana will be a lot of longer range since every level Tristana gains range.
At this point, at the back of my mind, I can't help but wonder of the what ifs for Team Manila Eagles. Like, what if they put JLC on, again, like what was demonstrated here in the PH finals here when JLC was on a heavier carry champion? I wonder how that would have, if that would have potentially dictated or changed the flow of how this game is being played out thus far. Because as we have seen earlier, JLC was actually trying to maneuver to a split push towards top side, but because they didn't have as much control in terms of the vision game, once he didn't get as much vision on the rest of the members of Young Generation, there was like a premonition wherein, oh no, I'm pushing out top side, they might be heading towards me, might as well head back right away. When in fact, nobody was really heading towards him. It's just that the rest of YG was elsewhere, not visible to the eye of TME because of the lack of vision towards the offensive side, so on their jungle.
True, again with that macro game, vision is part of macro game. So again, with the all waves pushing against TME, I can't seem to think I can't seem to think how YG does it. Every time there is an objective up, all of the waves is pushed against TME, and we should note that the next Drake is an Infernal Drake. Whoever gets that Infernal Drake will bolster their chances actually in the next fights that may determine the winner of this game.
And TME technically needs that Infernal Drake more than Young Generation, because as far as the composition that Young Generation has, they're pretty much solved on the damage. If anything, if getting that Infernal Drake makes them all the more painful. Team Manila Eagles, though, they could use the extra help, I'd say, in the damage department there. Trevor actually gets the Cataclysm, though. We are looking at a fight right here. I hear the Stand United actually going to be using JLC. Goes in onto Big Koro. Ren does get the kill on Trevor, though. They are losing out a lot of damage dealers, Team Manila Eagles, and that is going to be a lot of members caught in a very tight place here. Double kill for Big Koro. Are we going to be seeing a triple kill, though? No, Venus actually gets that kill. Triple kill indeed, though, regardless, and that'll be the ace for Young Generation.
And it's a 5-4-0 trade in favor of YG. And now if we look at that fight again, I mean we're looking for the Baron, bro.
So, looks like this will go uncontested because
nobody's alive in the TME side.
Oh, taking a bit before they could even live. So we'll just have to see. That Baron is going to be so juicy.
Alright, we can see in this fight, we should take note of LeBlanc's positioning at the backside. And also Ren's positioning on that side. I think TME is winning this fight, but then again, that equalizer hits both Marquis and Trevor. And by this time, LeBlanc arrives in that fight, and Marquis is just bursted down, is able to kite, but then again, that Jarvan and that straight line in that fight just really messed up fight for TME, because it's such a small space to pick a fight against a Braum and a Jarvan.
And again, ultimately, you have to look back on even the smallest things. Vision control is well within Young Generation's grasp. So going into that clash right there, they knew where every single member of Team Manila Eagles it was all about finding that right time there. And it's ironic because if you're going to look at the composition that Team Manila Eagles has, they have a lot of great initiation tools, but yet they find themselves in an awkward position wherein ever since the 15-minute mark, all they've been doing is being more responsive to Young Generation than them themselves being much more proactive when they can.
Yeah,
When they could have.
they're basically playing YG's game right now. All they've been doing for the past 15 minutes was defend, rotate, and clear up vision, which in turn YG refreshes every time they remove that vision. And in terms of vision game, again, what you said about the vision game, TME isn't really exactly facing a lot of wards.
Racial Vision actually connects into a knockup. And another knockup onto... Oh, this is what I've been talking about right here. The chase continues though onto Venus, and they get the kill. Beautifully played. This was the confidence that I've been looking for from Team Manila Eagles since the 15-minute mark there. They had all the tools in the world to get an initiate onto Young Generation, but looks like Big Koro might be dealing a lot of damage himself here. Jumps in onto Rocks. Will we be seeing the triple kill? Are we going to be seeing the triple kill? No, looks like Trevor will be halting that, but Big Koro just needs one more, but no, won't be able to pursue.
Nah, this is, I think they already hit the mark where Tristana is a really strong AD carry as it plays, because we have that Infinity Edge and that 2 static shiv and rapid fire cannon.
Again, Team Manila Eagles, I feel like just when we see what they should have been doing earlier, it, like you mentioned, this is a point wherein Big Koro, as a Tristana, hits the mark wherein she's just dishing out tons and tons of damage. So overall, going into the next game perhaps, given that if ever Team Manila Eagles does go for this type of composition again, all they need is the confidence to pull that trigger. And along with that, potentially a little bit of vision as well to find opportunities to do so. But damn, look at the damage coming in from Big Corridor. Just getting a solo kill onto Rocks. No trouble whatsoever. And this will transition into the Infernal Drake, which we have been dreading, as this will only amplify just how lethal Young Generation is with this composition.
Again, with the confidence, the part where you said about their TME actually initiating fights and playing their game, I think that's what we lacked at this game. The TME lacked their confidence to actually start fights. So I think if ever, I don't even think they had a chance to start fights, because YG was just rotating over and over again when they knew that they couldn't pick a fight against TME. Because early on, we had that early lead where Venus actually gave Trevor double buffs, so they couldn't start fights early on in the game. But oh my god, see the single target damage coming from YG right now is just too much for TME to handle. And at this point of the game, it's most likely be YG's game.
Dude, teleport gonna be cancelled, 1 kill, but at what cost at this point? Because Team Manila Eagles, they're running out of time. They really need to seek solid opportunities if they even want to try to equalize the playing field here. But from what I'm seeing here at a 12,000 deficit, that's kind of impossible at this point. But looks like we're going to be seeing a fight here now. Oh, getting the stun onto Coops. Coops actually down, will be going. Big Koro is godlike right now, going to be jumping in. Who will his next casualty be? Pallet actually tries to follow suit. Marky trying to see if he could take down anyone, but no, that is going to be the double kill instead. Big Koro, is it going to be the triple kill? No, cannot pursue further. But looks like this may potentially be the game, as Trevor and Rocks, the only remaining members, make that JLC as well. But still, this is a heavy minion wave pushing in onto these Nexus turrets right here. Rocks trying to get the knockup right here. No follow-up damage coming in from Team Manila Eagles, though. That is going to be the stun. That is going to be the burst. Down he goes to Big Koro once again. Teleport coming in. This is going to be the 5-man onto the Nexus. Congratulations. We have a winner for Game 1. It is going to be the first seed of Vietnam, Young Generation.
I mean, that game was really, talking about mechanical skills, I don't think TME falls down a lot in mechanical skills. It was 9 and 15, but then again, the macro skills of Vietnam, especially the way they rotated after they gave away First Blood, just really gave them the win. And they just waited for Tristana's power spike and enough to actually give solo kills around the map. And the pressure, the vision, it's just everything. The macro skill of Vietnam is just really superb in this game.
Indeed. At the end of the day, I can't help but wonder the weaknesses that Team Manila Eagles has right now going into the knockout stage. Is it the inexperience, or is it the lack of confidence? Or potentially, it could be both at the same time. Inexperience in the sense wherein they might not be up to par in terms of the macro just yet, because the micro, like you mentioned, the mechanics, without a doubt, they have it. Yeah. It's just that in terms of pulling the trigger and establishing all the needs and just the preconditions to start pulling the trigger on Young Generation, that's the huge question mark that I had throughout the entire game. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, that has been game 1 though. And when we come back, we'll just have to see, will Team Manila Eagles finally make the adjustments to win a game against Young Generation, or are we going to be seeing another Vietnamese sweep in this best of 5? Of course, this has been Arctic Cat, your Swerves fam, and of course, with me is Omi. This is the Garena Premier League 2017 summer season. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Is this going to be enough of distraction though? Jisoo and G4 as well pushing very, very hard.
Might be able to just finish off the game from here.
Young Generation might have to decide here as Ren isn't clearly enough. Ladies and gentlemen, we may have a winner.
Ascension Gaming.
Wow. We are looking at a fight right here. I hear the Stand United is actually going to be using JLC. Goes in onto Big Koro. Ren does get the kill on Trevor though. They are losing out a lot of damage dealers, Team Manila Eagles. And that is going to be a lot of members caught in a very tight place here. Double kill for Big Koro. Are we going to be seeing a triple kill though? No, Venus actually gets that kill. Triple kill indeed though regardless. And that'll be the ace. But looks like we're going to be seeing a fight here now. Oh, getting the stun onto Coops. Coops actually goes down. Will be going. Big Koro is godlike right now. Going to be jumping in. Who will the next casualty be? Talent actually tries to follow suit. Marky trying to see if he could take down anyone. But no, that is going to be the double kill instead. Big Koro, is it going to be the triple kill? No, cannot for shots trying to get the knockup right here. No follow-up damage coming in from Team Manila Eagles though. That is going to be the stun. That is going to be the burst. Down he goes to Big Koro once again. Teleport coming in. This is going to be the 5-man onto the Nexus. Congratulations. We have a winner for game 1. It is going to be the first seed of Vietnam, Young Generation.
I mean, that game was really,